All right, welcome to Vicky 3 Academy. I'm Walker. Here we are, and we play games, and I'm gonna start doing Ottoman Empire stuff, Tanzimat stuff. So I was gonna start doing like a sketch out in debug, but I feel like I think it'll just be fun to just play it as is. We'll this will be an awful lot like the day one Japan game, just because there's a lot of things that are going on when it comes to Ottoman Empire stuff that I still think I'm not 100% sure where they're best balanced. But if you're doing the Tanzimat, then you're trying to restore the Ottoman Empire to being a meaningful great power, right? So now we're down to a major power now simply because we lost control of the Levant. So one of the things that we're going to end up needing to do most likely throughout this game is recover that. But the Sick Man of Europe is going to be the thing that's going to direct us there. So this is going to add a bunch of different journal entries. And then you saw, I should have like moused over that for a little longer, but we got a really, really, really bad debuff here. The Sick Man of Europe, minus 33% prestige, and outmoded bureaucracy, minus 25% bureaucracy, minus 25% tax cap. So we really desperately need to get out of these problems that we have, and that's just the beginning of it. So we've got the reclaim Syria, urbanization, education reform needs to be revisited. Just because I'm going over all of this for all of you, don't try to do this. It's way too difficult. This one's almost free. That one's almost free, and that one's almost free. So like, if you cannot get reclaim Syria or urbanization, that's okay, because you probably can get suppress separatism unless you do something really bad, and you almost always want to get this bureaucratic reform anyway, because getting out of hereditary bureaucrats is going to be very good for your economy, and getting out of land-based taxation is going to be very good for your economy, and so like yeah, you're gonna just do this stuff anyway. And this stuff, it's not asking you for that much. Napoleonic warfare. All right. Yeah. So in order to do army modernization, the only thing that's going to be important here is to keep in mind that the Ottomans are not going to play as well with national militia, at least not initially. You're going to end up needing is not barracks and oh no, wait, this is all Ottoman buildings. So you need a lot of right. You can have conscripts going, but you just need a lot of buildings. You just need to build a lot. That's what I'm pretty sure that's what that says is build a lot. Some of the things in Tanzimat are a little goofball. Suppress separatism is basically fine. All right, so the first thing you need to figure out is what your starting tech should be. I think at this point I'm recommending line infantry. If you've played Tanzimat and you have recommendations elsewise, let me know. I want to pick up empiricism pretty soon. I want to do mass communication. Those are both really strong. Currency standards would also be really good, but I do think that picking up line infantry and getting our troops upgraded there, because remember that when you upgrade, you do have that long debuff time. Getting these guys upgraded just seems like it's going to be a lot more powerful than having them not be upgraded. So I'm just going through now and just adjusting any of these if it looks like they desperately need to be updated, but it doesn't look like it. So the big issue as the Ottoman Empire are these incredibly bad Tanzimat debuffs, but you have some things going for you. So you do have, for instance, a fairly large navy and a fairly large army. You have a very powerful local landowner, which is not good, but you do have the advantage of a really, really good ruler now. So Mahmud II, this is the dude who broke the strength of the Janissaries. He's also a really important figure in terms of bringing just reform to the Ottoman Empire. Like a lot of the stuff that we think about when we think about reform in the Ottoman Empire, we attribute to Abdul-Majid, but a lot of those reforms got started under Mahmud II. So he's the dude who created a foreign corps for the Ottoman Empire. Prior to that, I think it was all underneath either state or war. He's also the dude who started the reform in dress. So Mahmud II, and he legalized the consumption of wine. I mean, like he really did make a lot of effort to reform his country, but of course, thinking about the historical time that he was acting in, there was a lot of bad stuff that was about to start coming at the Ottoman Empire. But you have some options. So right now, the only one that on this save file who's really opposed to us is Russia. So I'm gonna go ahead and boost France and Great Britain, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just start trying to figure out, is there a way for me to expand my military without empowering my my governors? Yes, I could recruit an armed forces character. I'm okay recruiting one. That's fine by me. And the reason I'm okay doing that, of course, is that I do have an admiral attached to Anatolia, and so I want to be able to invade countries with relatively small forces. Because I don't need a 30 stack to conquer some of these places. I just need a little bit. And we, speaking of just needing a little bit, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get a little bit of influence in some areas. We're just gonna show up and we're just gonna demand some treaty ports. That's all we're doing. We're just getting some treaty ports. It's like, it's whatever. It's okay. Cambodia, are you? I forget what the starting diplomatic situation for you is. You are a tributary of Dainam. Yeah, so we're not going to be able to fight Dainam, but you can fight some of these guys pretty easily as the Ottoman Empire, because keep in mind, you have cannons. They do not. And you have 14 stacks, and they might not. So go ahead and just like find some of these ports. The ports are going to be the thing that you're really excited to be getting. I think probably we'll just take some from Sind. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, right. And you start with like these random ones over here. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, chat. I do not know what to tell you. We could take. Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking one from Uruguay. You've got a port. Yeah, you've got a port. Sure, absolutely. So what am I doing? I'm setting interests everywhere. And the reason that I'm setting interests everywhere, and the reason that I'm excited to be like trying to grab treaty ports everywhere instead of like puppets and stuff, is because we do have slavery. And so at the beginning of the game, if you start with slave trade, then you have the ability to actually gain pops by just like creating interest in the areas where the slave trade exists. And that can be very, very strong for you. Yeah, I think that that's a good setup there. Let's go ahead and start bolstering the intelligentsia. And I think... So the debate is, do we want to start bolstering the ulema right away? In this case, they started as jingoists. So these guys, one of the things that's going to make this very different from a Japan landowner battle is that in the Ottoman Empire, your landowner leader starts as a moderate, at least as far as I can tell, guaranteed, which means that you can't do what we do in Japan, which is re-roll until you have a different starting ideology here. You are guaranteed a landowner who is going to attempt to resist any attempt to get off of peasant levies. So you kind of have to figure out other ways to deal with them. I think what I'm going to recommend for people is that they use the fact that you have the intelligentsia here, right? That's important. That's going to be really helpful for you. If you really want to juice it, what you can do is you can re-roll ulema until you get like an abolitionist or something here. But the fact of the matter is that your starting dude, as far as I can tell, is always 74 years old. So he's probably a pseudo-historical character. But 74 years old means that like once they've patched it so that people don't live to be 130 anymore, this dude's going to die pretty quickly. And so wasting your time to re-roll doesn't seem like a smart value proposition. I think you really have two options here in terms of the development of your political economy. I think you can either try to align yourself with the ulema, or you can try to align yourself with the petit bourgeoisie. So the petit bourgeoisie is kind of a weird side suggestion here, but the fact of the matter is, if you're developing like a very small little textile mill base with a bunch of the resources that you currently have access to, you probably can get a lot out of having a stronger shopkeeper group around. It's just a question of is it worth it or not. I'm gonna suggest that we do try to build up the petit bourgeoisie and the intelligentsia, but remember that these guys are not going to be pulling the same pop types really as the local governors, and so boosting them doesn't really do a whole lot for us. So I'm not going to bother bolstering them right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those sweet little authority points to set up our development. So always use road maintenance. And then because we actually have some really cool things going on here, we like Mahmud II is himself ambitious, which reduces the cost on these actions. So we can do social mobility there, and we could even do greener grass if we had romanticism. I don't know. Maybe we don't even need it. I think social mobility is probably worth it, just because it does dramatically increase your ability to interact with your pops by avoiding a qualification crunch. You don't need as many universities to avoid having issues there. But you always want to build. You always want to build with a road construction if you can. And we've avoided spending some of our authority, so we can do services. I think I'm going to do tobacco and tea, and that leaves us with 200 more. So we could just do luxury clothes and porcelain. I wouldn't even hate doing that, because all this does is it means that all of our authority basically has been targeted at the local landowners as much as humanly possible. So we are trying to tax them into weakness. We will tax them into weakness. We will attempt to drive them into the hands of the ulema while building up the petite bourgeoisie and the intelligentsia. And that's going to be our alliance that we're going to try to utilize to take down the landowners here. The government wages right now, I think I'm fine with. We could potentially reduce taxation level, but I'm going to do a little bit of construction. So I think I'm going to be all right with that. And this really is just going to be a setup video. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk through what we're doing here. I want to make sure that all of my industrial goods I have set up as being protected, because I do not want to share them with the AI. They are mine. If they really want to buy them, they can, but they will have to pay more for them. And so I'm just going through and making 100% sure that the AI knows. Hands off my property. Hands off my property. If they want to sell me grain, am I okay with that? I think I'm mostly okay with that. So what this means is if I were to encourage exports, then people would be coming by and trying to buy it. And then this is protect domestic supply. So this will make it more expensive for the AI to take the grain out of my market, but it'll also encourage them to sell to me. Conversely, once we get really rolling on clothes, we could do this, encourage exports, which would just make it impossible for anyone to sell to us. But on the other hand, anyone trying to buy from us can buy without paying tariffs, which will be really helpful in terms of driving demand up. So for instance, here we could do encourage exports, which I wouldn't even hate. Because we could do this. We could do protect domestic supply, and then we could do an export route to the British, and that would generate a lot of money. But I suspect, I don't know. I actually don't know. I suspect that in general, it's going to be more useful for us to lean into just building things and getting money, which is going to encouraging people to come by and purchase this tea. But for now, we'll just set it to where it's probably going to be okay. And we can also remove some of the trade routes that are just like kicking around in here, because there's some like weird ones. Could have sworn, yeah. All right, so we're doing that export. I could have sworn that we started with a weird import, but I guess not. Good. So we've got that set up. We've got our military. We could do another one, but again, the way that these roles are generated, at least as far as I can tell, the higher the clout they have, the higher the likelihood that they'll show up in here. And so you want to just be careful about like overcommitting to doing the construction early. Oh, I don't know if we've chosen a law that we're working on yet. No, we haven't. So final thing that I'm going to do, I want to get into appointed bureaucrats really, really quickly, but right now, I do have a strong local governor adding a lot of legitimacy to the things that the intelligentsia want to do. And so that gives me some options. I could, for instance, immediately go into landed voting and try to start working on that. That doesn't strike me as bad, but because of the way landed voting works, it would mean that if I have a lot more aristocrats than capitalist clergymen and officers, I might get in trouble. And because of the starting associations here, I don't necessarily feel confident that local governors and armed forces wouldn't try to form a party. And so instead of immediately going into land-in voting, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into racial segregation instead of national supremacy, which is going to annoy the petit bourgeoisie and the ulema, but it's not going to infuriate them to the point of a revolution, most likely. But it is going to dramatically change the power shakeup in our country, because it's gonna make it so that anyone with a heritage cultural trait, in this case, the Middle Eastern heritage cultural trait, which is going to be like everybody over here, is going to all of a sudden is going to not be discriminated against. So we're going to have a lot more pops who are non-discriminated very, very quickly under these circumstances, if we can get this through, right? I think that's the basic setup for what we're going to try to do. And then we got to just wait for our interests to turn on, and then we're just going to start grabbing treaty ports and moving our interests around, so that way we have treaty ports located in as many different areas where we can start importing slaves as possible, because we want to end it as quickly as possible, but while it is around, we probably want to benefit from it. Right, we should build some stuff in Thrace. Right, so we're gonna be building in iron. That's gonna be the last thing that we're gonna do. And so because we're gonna be building in iron, I'm not gonna dramatically overbuild our construction sector. I'm actually just gonna build this up to 3. But after the 3, we are almost certainly going to be going into iron mines and more tools. So that is going to make it so that we can definitely build very quickly, even with a relatively small construction sector, just because iron is so unbelievably efficient. So look forward to that. This is the Tanzimat kind of like long form campaign that we're going to do for a little bit, just to show off, what you can do with treaty ports and petit bourgeoisie. I hope that you like and subscribe and keep following for more content. But I think the majority of what I'm going to be doing, at least for the time being, is going to be like the educational videos. I like doing these campaigns and I love sharing them with you guys, but my favorite thing is recording stuff about like UI. So yeah, that's Walker. Take care.